making themselves amiable. Lady Mary is presiding at the tea-tray.
Mr. Rolleston.
Shaking hands with his valet.
How do you do, Rolleston?
Catherine looks after the wants of Rolleston.
Mr. Thompson.
Tomset, the coachman, is received with honours, from which he shrinks.
Miss Fisher.
This superb creature is no less than Lady Mary's maid, and even Lord Loam is a little nervous.
This is a pleasure, Miss Fisher.
Unabashed.
If I might venture, Miss Fisher.
And he takes her unto himself.
Miss Simmons.
To Catherine's maid.
You are always welcome, Miss Simmons.
Perhaps to kindle jealousy in Miss Fisher.
At last we meet. Won't you sit down?
Mademoiselle Jeanne.
Charmed to see you, Mademoiselle Jeanne.
A place is found for Agatha's maid, and the scene is now an animated one. But still our host thinks his girls are not sufficiently sociable. He frowns on Lady Mary. In alarm.
Mr. Traherne, this is Fisher, my maid.
Sharply.
Your what, Mary?
My friend.
Thomas.
How do you do, Thomas?
The first footman gives him a reluctant hand.
John.
How do you do, John?
Ernest signs to Lord Brocklehurst, who hastens to him. Introducing.
Brocklehurst, this is John. I think you have already met on the doorstep.
Jane.
She comes, wrapping her hands miserably in her apron. Doggedly.
Give me your hand, Jane.
Gladys.
How do you do, Gladys? You know my uncle?
Your hand, Gladys.
He bestows her on Agatha.
Tweeny.
She is a very humble and frightened kitchen maid, of whom we are to see more.
So happy to see you.
John, I saw you talking to Lord Brocklehurst just now. Introduce me.
At the same moment to Ernest.
That's an uncommon pretty girl. If I must feed one of them, Ernest, that's the one.
But Ernest tries to part him and Fisher as they are about to shake hands.
No, you don't. It won't do, Brocky.
To Miss Fisher.
You are too pretty, my dear. Mother wouldn't like it.
Discovering Tweeny.
Here's something safer. Charming girl, Brocky, dying to know you. Let me introduce you. Tweeny, Lord Brocklehurst. Lord Brocklehurst, Tweeny.
Brocklehurst accepts his fate, but he still has an eye for Fisher, and something may come of this. Severely.
They are not all here, Crichton.
With a sigh.
Odds and ends.
A stable-boy and a page are shown in, and for a moment no daughter of the house advances to them. With a roving eye on his children.
Which is to recite?
The last of the company are, so to say, embraced. To Tomset, as they partake of tea together.
And how are all at home?
Fairish, my lord, if 'tis the horses you are inquiring for.
No, the family. How's the baby?
Blooming, your lordship.
A very fine boy. I remember saying so when I saw him. Nice little fellow.
Not quite knowing whether to let it pass.
Beg pardon, my lord, it's a girl.
A girl. Aha! Ha ha! Exactly what I said. I distinctly remember saying, if it's spared, it will be a girl.
Crichton now comes down.
Very delighted to see you, Crichton.
Crichton has to shake hands.
Mary, you know Mr. Crichton?
He wanders off in search of other prey.
Milk and sugar, Crichton?
I'm ashamed to be seen talking to you, my lady.
To such a perfect servant as you, all this must be most distasteful.
Crichton is too respectful to answer.
Oh, please do speak, or I shall have to recite. You do hate it, don't you?
It pains me, your ladyship. It disturbs the etiquette of the servants' hall. After last month's meeting, the page-boy, in a burst of equality, called me Crichton. He was dismissed.
I wonder, I really do, how you can remain with us.
I should have felt compelled to give notice, my lady, if the master had not had a seat in the upper house. I cling to that.
Do go on speaking. Tell me, what did Mr. Ernest mean by saying he was not young enough to know everything?
I have no idea, my lady.
But you laughed.
My lady, he is the second son of a peer.
Very proper sentiments. You are a good soul, Crichton.
Desperately to Tweeny.
And now tell me, have you been to the opera? What sort of weather have you been having in the kitchen?
Tweeny gurgles.
For heaven's sake, woman, be articulate.
Still talking to Lady Mary.
No, my lady, his lordship may compel us to be equal upstairs, but there will never be equality in the servants' hall.
Overhearing this.
What's that? No equality? Can't you see, Crichton, that our divisions into class are artificial? That if we were to return to nature, which is the aspiration of my life, all would be equal.
If I may make so bold as to contradict your lordship.
With an effort.
Go on.
The divisions into classes, my lord, are not artificial. They are the natural outcome of a civilized society.
To Lady Mary.
There must always be a master and servants in all civilized communities, my lady, for it is natural, and whatever is natural is right.
Wincing.
It is very unnatural for me to stand here and allow you to talk such nonsense.
Eagerly.
Yes, my lord, it is. That is what I have been striving to point out to your lordship.
To Catherine.
What is the matter with Fisher? She is looking daggers.
The tedious creature. Some question of etiquette, I suppose.
She sails across to Fisher.
How are you, Fisher?
With a toss of her head.
I am nothing, my lady. I am nothing at all.
Oh dear, who says so?
Affronted.
His lordship has asked that kitchen wench to have a second cup of tea.
But why not?
If it pleases his lordship to offer it to her before offering it to me.
So that is it. Do you want another cup of tea, Fisher?
No, my lady, but my position. I should have been asked first.
Oh dear.
All this has taken some time, and by now the feeble appetites of the uncomfortable guests have been satiated. But they know there is still another ordeal to face, his lordship's monthly speech. Every one awaits it with misgiving, the servants lest they should applaud, as last time, in the wrong place, and the daughters because he may be personal about them, as the time before. Ernest is annoyed that there should be this speech at all when there is a much better one coming, and Brocklehurst foresees the degradation of the peerage. All are thinking of themselves alone save Crichton, who knows his master's weakness, and fears he may stick in the middle. Lord Loam, however, advances cheerfully to his doom. He sees Ernest's stool, and artfully stands on it, to his nephew's natural indignation. The three ladies knit their lips, the servants look down their noses, and the address begins.
My friends, I'm glad to see you all looking so happy. It used to be predicated by the scoffer that these meetings would prove distasteful to you. Are they distasteful? I hear you laughing at the question.
He has not heard them, but he hears them now, the watchful Crichton giving them a lead.
No harm in saying that among us today is one who was formerly hostile to the movement, but who today has been won over. I refer to Lord Brocklehurst, who, I am sure, will presently say to me that if the charming lady now by his side has derived as much pleasure from his company as he has derived from hers, he will be more than satisfied.
All look at Tweeny, who trembles.
For the time being, the artificial and unnatural, I say unnatural,
glaring at Crichton, who bows slightly,
barriers of society are swept away. Would that they could be swept away forever.
The page boy cheers,
Yeah!
and has the one moment of prominence in his life. He grows up, marries, and has children, but is never really heard of again.